What if everything you thought you knew about ancient nights, about fire-lit temples and smoky torches, was just a shadow hiding the truth? As an archaeologist and researcher of ancient technology, I've always been fascinated by the contrast between what we've been taught and what might actually have been. Most people imagine the ancient world as cloaked in darkness once the sun disappeared. Flickering torches, oil lamps choking the air with smoke, and dim candlelight barely cutting through the shadows. That's the classic image we've inherited. But the more you look, especially deep inside Egyptian temples, the more that narrative starts to crack. Take the inner chambers of the Great Pyramid or the tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Spaces carved with incredible precision and adorned with elaborate hieroglyphs and vivid artwork. These places are completely sealed off from natural light, and yet their walls remain pristine, untouched by soot or burn marks, something you'd expect if fire was the only source of illumination. Studies by respected institutions, such as the University of Chicago's Oriental Institute and Harvard's Giza Project, confirm this curious absence. So the question becomes, how did the ancient Egyptians light these deep sacred spaces without leaving behind the usual signs of combustion? From a technical perspective, that absence is more than suspicious. It's a clue, one that hints at a clean, smoke-free form of lighting, perhaps something far beyond our current assumptions. And this is where things get truly fascinating, because hidden in plain sight, inside the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, is a carving that has puzzled scholars and symbolists alike. Some see mythology, others see lost technology. But whatever it is, it challenges what we think we know. Could our ancestors have possessed knowledge that was forgotten or deliberately buried? We'll dive into that in the next part. But for now, ask yourself this: what if darkness wasn't their limitation, but ours? As someone who has spent decades studying both ancient technology and Egyptian symbolism, I can tell you few carvings have sparked more debate, more speculation, and more controversy than the one hidden inside the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. There, etched in stone and shadow, is an image that seems almost out of place. It shows what appears to be a long, glass-like tube with a snake-like form inside, radiating outwards, almost as if it's glowing. This strange object connects to a lotus-shaped base, and beside it stands a figure holding what resembles a cable or conductor. To the trained eye, and even to the casual observer, it looks uncannily like a modern light bulb. Historians refer to this as the Dendera light, and it has puzzled Egyptologists, engineers, and symbologists for generations. According to mainstream scholars, such as those from the British Museum and the American Research Center in Egypt, the scene represents the mythological birth of the sun god Harsomtus, with the serpent symbolizing divine energy. The cable, they argue, is merely a stylized lotus stem, a sacred motif of creation and rebirth. And yet, from a technological perspective, the resemblance is impossible to ignore. Could this really just be a symbolic myth? Or did the Egyptians embed something deeper, something more advanced into their art? I've personally examined similar patterns across different temples, and when recurring motifs begin to mirror physical devices, we are compelled to ask, is it coincidence or code? As with the Antikythera mechanism in Greece, a device once dismissed as too advanced to be real until it was proven to be an ancient analog computer, we must remain open to the idea that ancient people were more technologically aware than we give them credit for. The Dendera carving doesn't stand alone. There are multiple depictions of the same object in different parts of the temple. And always, figures seem to be interacting with the device, not worshipping it, but operating it. Are we staring at the remains of forgotten knowledge? No functioning light bulbs have been found, no wires, no power sources. But then again, after 2,000 years, how much of our modern tech would survive in the desert? It's not about proving it existed, it's about daring to ask if it could have. Hidden not in the carvings, but in the architecture itself, a place where sootless stone whispers secrets of ancient illumination. If the ancient Egyptians didn't use fire to illuminate their darkest tombs, then what did they use? The answer may be etched into the very walls they left behind. As an archaeologist specializing in ancient technology, I often stand deep inside Egyptian tombs, places that have not seen sunlight for more than 4,000 years. And the question that haunts me is, how did they light these spaces without leaving a trace of fire? Many of these tombs, especially those in the Valley of the Kings or deep inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, feature incredible design and detail. The walls are covered in intricate hieroglyphics and colorful art, yet none of the ceilings have the soot stains we would expect if torches or oil lamps were the primary light source. This absence is not a small detail, but a crucial clue. Even in medieval castles across Europe, where torches were common, we see blackened, smoky ceilings. But in ancient Egyptian tombs, the stone remains clean, untouched by fire. Scholars from the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Harvard's Giza archives have documented the phenomenon, but few have dared to explore what it might actually mean. Some researchers have proposed that mirrors were used to reflect sunlight deep into the chambers, but tests with replica bronze mirrors have shown how quickly the light decays. It's simply impractical to penetrate more than a few meters into a narrow passageway. So what other possibilities are there? Let's move on to something even more intriguing: the Baghdad Battery. Discovered in modern-day Iraq and dating back to ancient Mesopotamia, the artifact, which consists of a clay pot, a copper cylinder and an iron rod, can generate a small electrical current when filled with vinegar or lemon juice. While not of Egyptian origin, its existence proves that ancient civilizations had at least a rudimentary understanding of electrochemistry. Could the Egyptians, known for their ingenuity, engineering, and mastery of materials, have developed similar or even more advanced applications for electricity? While we don't have any working ancient light bulbs or power plants, we do have a troubling amount of circumstantial evidence: clean rooms, mysterious carvings, and artifacts that hint at something more. The question is no longer, did they know about electricity? But have we forgotten how to see the signs they left behind? We'll zoom in on the Dendera carving again, but this time not on the symbolic image, but on the design that could be applied. Let's look at the technical logic that might lie behind the so-called Light of Dendera. Stay with us, because the past may be brighter than we think. As a researcher of ancient symbolism, I've spent years analyzing patterns in Egyptian iconography, where the lines between myth, metaphor, and possible technology are often blurred. And nowhere is this tension more striking than in the carvings found at the Temple of Hathor in Dendera. The so-called Dendera light features a long tubular structure with a snake-like form inside. It seems to glow. One end connects to a lotus flower base, an image rich with symbolic meaning in Egyptian cosmology. And beside it stands a figure holding what resembles a cable or conductor. To the trained eye, this carving echoes a modern electric light bulb. Some believe this is a literal depiction of lost technology, a representation of ancient Egyptians harnessing electricity in ways we don't yet understand. They point to the structural detail, the positioning of figures, and even the repeated presence of the carving in multiple locations within the temple as evidence. But mainstream Egyptologists offer a very different perspective. According to scholars from the German Archaeological Institute and the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago, the image is a religious representation, not a technical blueprint. The serpent within the bulb represents Harsomtus, a manifestation of the sun god, being born from the lotus flower. The cable is interpreted as a stylized lotus stem, not a power line. In this view, the entire scene symbolizes the daily rebirth of the sun, a common and sacred theme in Egyptian mythology. From their perspective, the artwork is deeply spiritual, not scientific. So who's right? Both sides make valid points. Egyptian art is known for its symbolic complexity. Gods were often depicted in non-literal composite forms, but at the same time, we have underestimated ancient civilizations before. The Antikythera mechanism was once dismissed as an impossible anachronism, until X-rays revealed it to be a functioning analog computer over 2,000 years old. History has taught us this lesson repeatedly. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Could it be that we're interpreting an ancient technology through the wrong lens, filtering it as myth because it doesn't fit our expectations? Or are we romanticizing sacred art as science? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. a symbolic representation of cosmic energy, inspired by knowledge we've long lost. Let's suppose for a moment that the Dendera carvings are more than myth, that some form of clean, smokeless illumination once existed within Egypt's sacred halls. Then why haven't we found wires, batteries, or glass fragments? Why no carbon scoring from electrical burns, no written manuals hidden in tombs? Here's a sobering reality: time erases almost everything, except stone. Modern electronics are fragile, plastic decays, metal corrodes. Even glass over millennia can break down into unrecognizable shards. If our own civilization vanished tomorrow, what would remain 5,000 years from now? Future archaeologists might find concrete, stone walls, maybe a few rusted tools. But microchips, LED bulbs, gone. Just like that. The Baghdad battery, discovered in modern-day Iraq, proves ancient people experimented with primitive electricity. If Mesopotamians knew of electrochemical reactions 2,000 years ago, could the Egyptians, renowned engineers, have gone further? And yet, even if they had, it only takes one war, one empire's fall, or a shift in religion to wipe out technological progress. History is full of these collapses. The knowledge of Greek fire, of Roman concrete, of the Antikythera mechanism, all lost for centuries, then rediscovered or barely understood. Egypt too went through waves of conquest, by Persians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs. In each era, temples were looted, knowledge forbidden, libraries burned. A single papyrus scroll, destroyed or buried, could have held the blueprint to something we now dismiss as myth. So perhaps the Dendera light isn't a coincidence, but a flicker of forgotten brilliance, hidden in plain sight. And perhaps we're not looking for evidence in the wrong places, but through the wrong mindset, because sometimes what seems like magic in the past was simply science we no longer understand. Ancient theories of power and light. What if ancient light was powered not by fire or magic, but by science we are only now beginning to understand? When we look at the so-called light of Dendera and the theories surrounding it, we have to ask the serious question: does it actually work? Let's start with a real-world comparison. The Baghdad battery, a 2,000-year-old clay pot with a copper cylinder and an iron rod inside. Add vinegar or lemon juice, and it generates a small electrical charge. It's crude, yes, but it works. Now imagine what a more advanced civilization like ancient Egypt could do with this knowledge, especially with their deep expertise in chemistry, metallurgy, and architectural precision. One popular theory is that the Egyptians may have used electroplating, a process that requires a weak electric current to coat one metal with another. Some artifacts, such as those found at Saqqara and Abydos, show unusually uniform layers of gold, far beyond what basic hammering or gilding could achieve at the time. Could they have stumbled upon a functional application for electricity? Possibly. Another, more controversial idea is to use piezoelectricity, energy produced by certain crystals, such as quartz, when subjected to pressure. Egypt had a lot of quartz, especially in granite mines. Theoretically, if these materials were embedded in temple structures or portable devices, they could produce light under specific mechanical or acoustic conditions. And let's not forget the mysterious bronze rods, gold spikes, and unknown alloys found in burial sites and monuments. Pieces that don't quite fit into our neat timeline of technological evolution. While none of this evidence provides evidence of a functioning light bulb system, it does hint at systems of knowledge that may have worked very differently from our own. Mainstream archaeology rightly urges caution. No intact power sources, no electrical wiring, no recovered glass bulbs. But let me ask this: if an advanced civilization collapsed today, how much of our electrical grid would still be functional 5,000 years from now? Most of our technology is ephemeral, not eternal. Rather than dismissing ancient theories as myths, perhaps it's time to reframe our approach. Not every mystery requires a modern explanation, but we shouldn't ignore the possibility that the ancients knew more than we think. If all our technology disappeared tomorrow, what would future civilizations think of us? What would they find? Stone ruins, or silent evidence of a forgotten age of light? What if we look back at the past through the wrong eyes? As someone who has spent decades deciphering ancient symbols and forgotten technologies, I've come to realize something sobering. The deeper we dig, the more we risk missing the truth. Not because the truth is hidden, but because we're not asking the right questions. Take a walk through the ruins of ancient Egypt. You'll find intricate hieroglyphics, colossal statues, soaring obelisks, but what you won't find are wires, batteries, or switches, at least not in any form we'd recognize today. And so modern historians often dismiss theories like the lights of Dendera as myth or misunderstanding. But here's the uncomfortable truth. History is written by what survives, not necessarily by what once existed. If our modern civilization were to collapse today, within a few thousand years, most of our electronics, plastics, and metals would disintegrate. Glass would shatter, circuitry would corrode, only stone would remain. Skyscrapers might become eroded tombs, and laptops would be nothing more than strange lumps on the ground. Will our descendants be able to accurately guess what our world was like? Or will they, like us today, stare at our carvings, logos, symbols, and blueprints, and wonder if they were just religious metaphors? What if we looked at the Dendera sculptures, not literally, but through a lens clouded by modern assumptions? What if the snake of light inside the bulb is not just a myth, but a memory, a symbolic echo of something that was once real? That doesn't mean aliens or science fiction. It means reconsidering the possibility that ancient civilizations had systems of knowledge that worked differently than ours. Technologies rooted in nature, resonance, geometry, and symbolism, not just wires and machines. We must stop underestimating the wisdom of the ancient world. They built wonders that we have yet to replicate. They observed the stars with a precision that rivals modern instruments. And maybe, just maybe, they lit up our darkest nights in ways we have long forgotten. So before we dismiss the Dendera light as mere fantasy, perhaps we should ask ourselves, what else have we forgotten? And how many truths are hidden right in front of our eyes, waiting for eyes that dare to see? If this question haunts you as it does me, subscribe and follow us to see and decode more ancient mysteries you never knew, because we are just beginning to rediscover the lost glory of the ancient world.